What you see here are the streets of perhaps the most unique city in Europe. People even call it the last lawless city in Europe, a place of total freedom. Illegal substances are allowed, nudism is on the agenda, and alternative lifestyles are the norm. For some, it is paradise. For others, it is hell because there is no sense of security. In fact, behind the facade of freedom and independence, a battle between gang rivalries and illegal businesses has been raging for years. And the future of this place is uncertain as the police increasingly try to infiltrate the city and maintain law and order. In this video, we will introduce you to Freetown Christiania, tell you about its history, take a look at life in the neighborhood today, and take a look at its future. Of course, we will also tell you where this city is located. Christiania seems like a normal place. Until 1971, it was a military barracks, but after it was decommissioned, it was occupied by hippies and autonomous anarchists. They took over an area of 34 hectares, or about 47 football pitches, and created a world of their own. The squatters built their own houses and called the area the Free State of Christiania. In 1989, Christiania was officially recognized as an autonomous area. This means that in many places, different laws apply than in the surrounding countryside. About 900 people from all over the world live there peacefully together. People who have lost everything or left it behind and have found a new home there at some point. Most of Christiania's residents have long searched for a perspective they could not find in normal cities. In Christiania, on the other hand, they live far from Western social norms and build their own lives. They make bicycles, run cafes and restaurants, and organize music events with up-and-coming artists. There is also a lake where everyone can swim, and fellow citizens, for whom only one thing is true.
You can do anything you like, just don't bother your neighbor, you know?
All Christiania residents must abide by just a few other rules. These are not laws, but rather agreements between the citizens of Christiania. No violence among themselves, no weapons, and no gangs. But where is Christiania? The autonomous zone is located in the center of a large city that is considered one of the cities with the highest quality of life in the world, the Danish capital, Copenhagen. The fact that Christiania is located in Copenhagen is not surprising, as Denmark is a very liberal country known for its free society. But of course, this freedom has consequences that are not always good. Even if, at first glance, everything seems to be fine, this is only half the truth. In Copenhagen, the autonomous zone is known to many for one thing in particular, the so-called Pusher Street. Current life in Christiania is far from perfect. Most visitors drift straight to Pusher Street, where they experience things that otherwise only happen behind closed doors. Anyone can buy illegal drugs and use them immediately without fear of repercussions. This also means that countless dealers in Christiania are not to be trifled with. They wear balaclavas to avoid being identified, destroy any camera that tries to film them, and harass many visitors to get their drugs. They sell their wares openly on small flea market tables without the slightest fear of being caught by the police. They deal with over 1.2 tons a year and make a small fortune. But this open selling has a terrible downside. For years, more and more gangs from the biker scene and organized crime have been infiltrating the zone and causing significant problems. But more about that later. Apart from the drug situation, life in Christiania is pretty standard. In addition to the aforementioned swimming lake, there is childcare, recreational activities such as theater and yoga, and the opportunity for young people to try their skills at music in rehearsal halls and concert stages. There is also a self-made skate park and other activities that even attract school classes from other Copenhagen neighborhoods. For many, Christiania is the epitome of the free subculture that is disappearing in many European cities. But Christiania is more than just an entertainment zone with nice leisure facilities. Over time, the zone has developed into a functioning economy that is quite stable for its standards. On the one hand, it is financed by the sale of its own bonds. And on the other hand, it is a real international pioneer, especially in the production of bicycles. It also has its own currency, the lon, which ensures that Christiania's entire economy remains controllable. Nevertheless, a central question remains. who is really in charge of Christiania? Is it the residents themselves? Or does the Danish state ultimately control the region? Christiania is run and supplied independently from the rest of Copenhagen. Among other things, the district has set up its own garbage collection service. The state primarily monitors and does not interfere in Christiania's affairs. Officially, the city is run by the Christiania Foundation, which manages all budgets and is made up of residents. Its only concern is that Christiania should remain as it is, and that investors should not take over the area. Overall, it quickly becomes apparent that this is a very special community determined to maintain its status. Reality is deceiving, however, as Christiania has allegedly fallen into the hands of people who have little to do with the lifestyle of such a neighborhood, gangs like the Hells Angels. Christiania in Denmark has repeatedly been in the headlines for violent police raids and violent reactions. The police justify their actions by saying that they want to stop the drug trade, which has gotten out of hand. In addition, residents of Copenhagen's neighborhoods have had enough. The residents say that with their open lifestyle and unrestricted sale of drugs, they wanted to make sure that the crime would only take place in a controlled place. However, this did not seem to stop the gangs from fighting violently for dominance in Christiania's drug trade. At one point, the gangs that essentially supplied the neighborhood with drugs were challenged by Moroccan gangs, and the violence escalated when a police officer was brutally beaten during an operation in 2016. The authorities and Christiania residents had had enough. Since then, they have reportedly been trying to create a more peaceful future for their free state. To ensure a gang-free future, the residents dismantled their stalls a few years ago and kicked them out of the square. Although there are still some drug deliveries, sometimes even when camera crews are present, Christiania is said to have become more peaceful. Nevertheless, right-wing and conservative politicians in Denmark want a fresh start for the old military area. Since Christiania is located in the center of the city, and therefore in an attractive location, they see a lot of potential for building expensive apartments. For the residents, however, this would be a nightmare. Not only would Christiania lose its entire atmosphere, but some 900 people would be deprived of their self-made, independent lives, away from the usual norms. The city would also suffer since many tourists come to Copenhagen to visit Christiania, thus boosting the rest of the city's economy. Therefore, the Christiania Foundation recently proposed extending free citizenship to allow more people to live an utterly self-determined life. Whether this will work is unclear, but until then, Christiania will remain the only place in Europe where there are no laws and hardly any rules. Let us know what you think of Christiania in the comments. See you next time.